Just about says it all. Australia could be set to rewrite the record books. It's been 59 years since Australia, on their home soil, has been able to tidy up an Ashes series in the first two tests. In fact, back in 1920, they won the first test 8-4, and they took out the second test that year 21-8 to tie up the Ashes against Great Britain. Of course, Australia won the first test at Lang Park a fortnight ago, 35-0. They gave the Great Britain side a thorough thrashing, and a lot of people are forecasting a similar thrashing is awaiting Great Britain here at the cricket ground today. Some people have described this touring side as a substandard one. That could be so. They certainly haven't been helped on the score of injuries for this second test. But then again, the Australian side might be just one of the best sides we've ever fielded, as they indicated at Lang Park with this try scored by Larry Corowa.
And Matthias over the halfway, Bousted in defence, intercepted by Eadie. Eadie's over the halfway, 20 metres into Great Britain territory, brushes off two, gets it to Peponis, onto Adonicus, onto Reddy, onto Rogers, Corowa's got the ball and scores. Great try by Australia.
And so there it was, a great try scored by Larry Corowa, one of 5 tries scored in the test match. And maybe we're going to see some very exciting football such as that in this test tonight. Let's take you now to the Great Britain dressing room where they're preparing to take the field, and here is Peter Peters.
Thanks, Ray. The big news from the Great Britain dressing room is that their number one forward, Steve Knocker-Norton, is a late withdrawal from the match. Bad luck, Steve.
Yeah.
What's the trouble, mate?
Pulled calf muscle, Peter, early yesterday morning, and we haven't had time to really get to work on it, so I'm out.
You're out, and it's not an injury that'll keep you out for the rest of the tour?
I hope not, no.
And the replacement forward, Jeff Gratian, Mick Adams goes to lock forward, and we're all expecting a big improvement from the Great Britain side today.
Yeah, well, there's no problem about that. I think the first test, especially playing in Australia, caught the lads a bit unaware. They've seen how good the Australian side were in England, but in Australia, you know, they're that much faster playing on hard grounds. So I can't see any way that Australia can win by that kind of margin. No way at all today.
Great Britain's strung together some good wins against better opposition since the first test, and obviously the combination's getting better.
All the lads are playing well now, despite press reports. I think the English lads today, the Great Britain lads today, will test Australia all the way. There's no problem about that.
Well, there it is, straight from Great Britain's number one forward, Steve Norton. Over to Ray Warren.
Thank you, Peter. And of course, that was the scene in the Great Britain dressing room prior to kick-off. Let's take you across now to the other dressing room occupied by the Australian side. And the Daily Mirror's Bill Mordy is there reporting from the dressing room right now.
Thanks, Ray. I'm in the Australian dressing room with coach Frank Stanton. And the big question is whether or not there's any complacency in this test side of ours.
No, there doesn't appear to be any complacency, Bill. Boys are quite keyed up for a big effort, and if I'm reading their moods right, I think they will produce that, a big effort.
You can feel tension in the side. Is that a good sign?
Yes, well, I'm a bit tense myself, and I think it's reflecting right through the place, and hopefully it is a good sign.
And as far as you're concerned, can you see any way at all that Great Britain can beat us?
Oh, there's lots of ways they can beat us if we allow them, but if we do the things that we set out to do, it'll make it awfully hard for them.
If they play it rough in the first 20 minutes, what are your instructions to the Australians?
Well, we'll meet fire with fire, but we won't let it upset our game plan, and if it doesn't, I think we'll go on from there and win the game.
Thanks very much. Best of luck, Australia, and back to Ray Warren.
Thank you, Bill.
My thanks to Bill Mordy for covering the Australian dressing room scene prior to the kick-off. And talking of that, it will happen in just a moment to the second test.
Joyce Main's doing it again, but this time she really means business because the Sharp Corporation will pay for this commercial when Joycey's sold $1 million worth of Sharp stock, and Joycey's keeping her fingers and everything else crossed.
Joyce, how are you going to sell $1 million worth of Sharp products?
Well, hopefully, Harry, that's going to be easy by offering my customers my best possible prices, and here are a few examples.
Touch-tune 33-centimetre Sharp colour TVs, suggested price $529, Joycey's price $399, a difference of $130. Dolby stereo cassette deck with Sharp's automatic program search system was $229, now $179, save $50.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
How much is this one, Joyce?
These are my EMS demonstration models, Harry. My new price was $297. My demo price, $199. That's a saving of $98.
Why buy elsewhere when you could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
We can't predict how cars will look in the 1980s, but it's a safe bet they'll be safer, better handling, and more economical, and that they'll demand a tyre that's safer, better handling, and a tyre that offers greater mileage. That tyre is here now. The new generation Steel Cat. Uniroyal's all-new Steel Cat 280. This is the tyre that makes the 1980s a safer place. Already.
Chocolate move, strawberry move, ice coffee move, banana move. Move it, baby, move it. Move your body to it. Move it, baby, move it. Keep it moving on. Move it, baby, move it. Until the day is gone.
Move flavored milk.
The bee is nature's storage expert. Its honeycomb cells are hexagonal, the most efficient shape for storing in the hive. You see, it's not always how much space you've got that matters. It's how you use it. This principle has helped make Dexion the leading supplier of warehouse storage systems in Australia. Talk with Dexion. By storing more efficiently, we believe you can make more honey too. Dexion.
And so there's the referee, Greg Hartley, taking the field for the second international between Australia and Great Britain, with Australia winning the first 2 weeks ago at Lang Park, Brisbane, by a massive 35 points to 0. And very shortly the team's coming out onto the field, and the national anthems of both countries will be played. Welcoming into the commentary, my co-commentator Keith Barnes.
Thanks, Ray. Well, it's certainly the stage is set for a great match. Great Britain, of course, will have to reproduce the form that we think they can produce if they're going to square the Ashes out here this afternoon.
And so here they come, the Australians in the green and gold. Eadie, Cottowa, Rogers, Cronin, Bousted, Thompson, Rodonicus, Price, Boyd, Reddy, Young, Peponis the captain, Rod Morris, and coached by Frank Stanton. The reserves coming down the chute. The Australians to centre field on a windless day virtually here at the Sydney Cricket Ground. The breeze blowing at 1 kilometre from the northwest as the balloons ascend skywards, the green and gold of Australia. A beautiful day here in Sydney. 13 degrees, not a cloud in the sky. And again, the promotions chairman of the New South Wales Rugby League, Mr. Bob Abbott, has done a splendid job in adding the colour to what already is quite an electrifying atmosphere here at the SCG. The crowd around about 25 to 28,000 as the Great Britain side come out to try and square the series. Fairburn, Barents, Joyner, Woods, Hughes, Holmes, Stevens, Adams, Casey, Gratian, Nichols the captain, Ward, Skerritt, and their coach is Eric Ashton. And of course out of that side, as reported by Peter Peters, Steve Norton, who tore a calf muscle at training. And so the balloons of Great Britain in the red, white and blue are now escaping from their net, and they're now heading into the skies above the Sydney Cricket Ground here. The crowd roars now as they stand by and wait for the sound of referee Greg Hartley's whistle to blow time on in this international. And though this test match has had quite a bit of criticism as far as being a non-event, that feeling is there, Keith Barnes.
Yes, it certainly is, but I think Great Britain do face a mammoth task if they're going to square the series out here this afternoon. Defence is going to be their big problem. They were found wanting in Brisbane on very many occasions, and they were far too slow in plugging the gap. Certainly there's a lot more life being injected into this pack now with Casey and Adams in particular, but I think they're going to miss Steve Norton, who was one of their better players up in Brisbane. They did probe a few openings in the Australian defence on occasions, but they were far too slow in backing up the men with the ball. And Australia would have to start firm favourites here this afternoon.
And there's Ray. First break for Australia. Price, who scored the test in Brisbane, as it comes out to Rodonicus and across through Reddy. It goes on to Les Boyd, and Boyd tries to step inside the defence, but is tackled there by David Ward about 10 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. Out to Rodonicus now, and across to Alan Thompson, and floats it across the face of Ray Price, and it's taken by Larry Cottowa, who in turn is put into touch on the far side by the South African winger Dave Barents.
George Fairbairn, the Great Britain fullback, has a mammoth task, hasn't he? He's just arrived from England. Of course, we've seen him play on numerous occasions in test matches against Australia. Keith Mumby was hoped that he would fill the fullback spot, but of course they were hoping to get Woods up into the centre, and they've rushed Fairbairn straight into the side. He's a key player for Great Britain out there this afternoon.
So the first scrum of this test match is won by Australia, and it comes out to Alan Thompson away to Graham Eadie, and Eadie is tackled there by his opposite number, George Fairbairn. Across to Alan Thompson again now. 10 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway, and Ray Price comes in for quite a welcome from the Great Britain defence, and quite an enthusiastic defence too, as it goes on the blind side to Rodonicus and then on to Reddy in number 10 for Australia. Stands and unloads the ball back to Craig Young, his St George teammate, and Young it is that takes play within 30 metres of the Great Britain line. Played back to Peponis and given away to Rodonicus, and now to Alan Thompson. It goes across to Steve Rogers. Rogers gives it out to centre partner Mick Cronin, turns it on the inside to Bousted, back inside to Rogers, steps around one, steps around a second, and Rogers almost away, gets the pass down to Rod Morris, and Morris is held about 18 metres out from the Great Britain line. Played and gone to Rodonicus. On it goes to Reddy, out it goes to Boyd, and Boyd tries to slide the pass but can't, and is held a few metres outside the quarter by the English centre, John Joyner. Ball played, and it's Australia on the attack to Alan Thompson. Throws a beautiful pass out to Steve Rogers, who stands them up and steps. And then Rogers is held on the 22 line, and so another scrum to pack down, this time towards the broadcasting side of the ground, or the members' stand side, in the Sheridan corner on the 22.
Tommy Rodonicus obviously going to be a key figure out there this afternoon. The tactics in Brisbane are going to be employed this afternoon. There's no doubt about that, with players like Les Boyd and Rod Reddy positioning themselves to run off Rodonicus at every opportunity.
So England or Great Britain win the scrum, and Mick Adams falls on it for his side. Playing it back to the 5/8, John Holmes, and given away to Casey in number 9 for the Red, White and Blues. And on the 22, it's Casey playing the ball back to Gary Stevens. He turns it away to captain George Nichols, and Nichols it is that tries to make the break. But the Lions at the moment well contained by Ray Price and Rod Morris. Played back to Stevens again, and he works it out to the right, out to the showground side. And number 13 for the Great Britain team is Trevor Skerritt. Played back again to Stevens, acting as dummy half, and then fed back to Holmes, and Holmes kicks for the centre of the field, splitting Bousted and Graham Eadie. And so Bousted now gets his second touch of the game, and up he goes to the halfway and beyond. What a great run by Bousted. Tremendous run by Bousted.
Very poor defence by Woods then, the centre, when he went up to take him, though.
It's with Rodonicus and given away to Young, and Young turns it back to Thompson. Thompson is taken in the tackle over the top by the number 5, and that is Eric Hughes. Peponis unloads to Morris, and Morris comes in for a heavy tackle there from David Ward, who came off second best. Jeff Gratian coming in to secure the tackle. It's out with Rodonicus, the run around, and then Peponis, now Boyd, and Boyd takes play 7 or 8 metres inside the 22 on the Lions' end of the field, played by Boyd, and it's Alan Thompson giving it to Craig Young, and Young turns it back to Peponis, who gets his pass down to Rodonicus, and then it goes on to Price, and Price is around 2, and Price is going very close to the line.
He was, but I thought if he'd kept it coming down the right-hand touchline, there was a chance in the corner.
Last tackle for the Australians now as Rodonicus works it out to the left, and it's dropped by Reddy, and it's going to be a scrum to form in the scoreboard corner about 15 metres out from the Great Britain line. No score in the test.
Joyce Main's doing it again, but this time she really means business, because the Sharp Corporation will pay for this commercial when Joycey's sold $1 million worth of Sharp stock, and Joycey's keeping her fingers and everything else crossed.
Joyce, how are you going to sell $1 million worth of Sharp products?
Well, hopefully, Harry, that's going to be easy by offering my customers my best possible prices, and here are a few examples.
Touch-tune 33cm Sharp colour TVs, suggested price $529, Joyce's price $399, a difference of $130. Dolby stereo cassette deck with Sharp's automatic program search system was $229, now $179, save $50.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
How much is this one, Joyce?
These are my EMS demonstration models, Harry. My new price was $297. My demo price $199. That's a saving of $98.
Why buy elsewhere when you could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
Somewhere in the world, a plot's revealed, a man resigns, a nation reels. Somewhere in the world, a story breaks for the Australian. Somewhere in the world a deal is made, a star is born, a match is played. Somewhere in the world a story grows for the Australian. The Australian, the Australian, working through the night to bring you the world each day. The Australian, the Australian, covering the world and all the nation, right across the land they rise to the Australian, the Australian, working through the night to bring you the world each day. The Australian, the Australian.
Datsun Stanza won the rugged 78 Southern Cross Rally just 3 weeks after its Australian launch. Datsun Stanza, the sporty 1600 with all those famous Datsun features: style, economy, rally-bred reliability. Datsun Stanza, the driver's car.
Real value from $5,499 now.
In my restaurant, the hard work starts after everyone leaves, with the washing up. My boys don't use ordinary scourers. They've got no muscle. I give them the best Ajax Power Pad. They're bigger, thicker, clean better, last longer, and they're stronger. Ajax Power Pad and Easy Grip Power Sponge. They've got the muscle. Also soft touch light duty scourer and sponge scourer.
And even at this early stage, there are signs of weakness in this Great Britain defence, but particularly in the centre with Woods. He's made a couple of lacklustre type tackles on Rogers in particular, and he missed Boosted very badly.
Out to Price. And he's held there by Mick Adams, and Price it is that is going to play the ball a couple of metres inside the quarter line. That fiery opening that we thought may happen at Lang Park, and again here today, hasn't eventuated. It's out with Rogers. Rogers held the ball out for Bousted and then tried to go himself, but he's tackled close to the touchline, about 15 metres out from the Great Britain line. It's across to Craig Young, and Young takes it up for Australia, to be held and put down by Skerritt in combination with Mick Adams. Played back to Poponis, given to Rodonicus, and then on to Thompson, and across it goes to Cronin. And Cronin is held up in the tackle by the Englishman, right in centre field, just inside the 22 line. Cronin to play the ball back to Alan Thompson. He feeds it out on the blind side. It's with Ray Price, and then it goes on to Rod Reddy. Rod Reddy tries to get the pass inside, but the support wasn't there, Larry Corowa, and he goes to dummy half Corowa for Reddy. It comes out to Rodonicus, then to Thompson. He dummies to Cronin and then gives it back on the blind side with a neat flick pass to Boyd, who got his pass away, and it's Rod Morris that goes to ground, and there is a bit of a scuffle up now involving Jeff Gratian and Les Boyd. George Nichols comes in. Tom Rodonicus, not to be outdone, is in there spending his tuppence worth as Hartley goes in to cool down the fumes of a minor altercation, and Poponis and Nichols have been called out by Hartley, and obviously telling them to settle it, cool it, play football, and we'll all get along much more happily.
Well, certainly Nichols will be looking for a bit of stick from that Great Britain pack too, but Australia looking very good this, in the opening 5 minutes or so.
So the scrum going down in the scoreboard corner. Les Boyd scurrying up into the pack, and the ball is out the same tunnel and about to be fed in again by Gary Stevens, working the scrum. Won by the English side, and coming into the play is fullback Fairburn, and Fairburn is dunked heavily by Ray Price. Brought a roar from the crowd as Fairburn went diving towards the ground. That's Price again around the legs of Mick Adams.
Very involved in the opening 10 minutes, Ray Price. Had a great game in Brisbane. Looks like producing another big one today.
This is Gratian now, standing and feeding it back to Holmes, the 5'8", and across to Skerritt, and Skerritt tries to work it out, but he's held by Poponis up top and down low by Rod Morris. Ball is played back to David Ward and given away to Holmes, and he decides to kick this time. And it's down to Larry Corowa, and this will turn the crowd on as he goes over the halfway mark, Corowa. But he's neatly brought down there by John Joyner. Played back to Poponis, given on the blind side to Craig Young. And Young turns it back to Poponis. Poponis gains a few more metres for Australia. Takes play about 6 metres outside the 22. Played by Poponis. No score in the second test match at the Sydney Cricket Ground as Rodonicus gives it back to Rod Morris. And he's put down by Skerritt and by Adams. Morris plays it back to Alan Thompson. He comes across the field and then serves the pass up to Reddy, and Reddy tries to make the break for Australia. They've allowed him to stand up. He gets it away to Boyd. Boyd is outside the 22. Now he's inside the 22. Gets the pass down. Scooped up by one of the Lions in the shape of Len Casey. And he plays it now for his side. Back to Gary Stevens, who gives it to George Nichols. And Nichols in the side as the front row forward today, captaining the Great Britain team, was Doug Lawton, of course, heading home in just a matter of days. This is Skerritt as play works back towards the halfway, but territorially it's been all Australia in the opening 9 minutes of this game. Kicking ahead is Gary Stevens. That ball is going down towards the Australian goal line, and going back forward is Graham Eadie, a man who in the last fortnight has shed a couple of kilos on instruction from coach Frank Stanton. This is Kerry Bousted for Australia on the quarter line now, and one of the very few seconds in the match that Australia have been occupying their own territory. Craig Young is held low by Ward and over the top there by Skerritt. And it's played back to George Peponis and given away to Rod Morris now. And Morris is met by the defence and put down as referee Hartley calls the Great Britain side outside the 5. And Peponis gives it to Reddy. Reddy gives a short ball to Boyd, but the ball has gone to ground. Picking it up is Thompson for Australia, but Hartley is calling a halt, and he's going to put a scrum down as the ball went forward. You're watching the second test from the Sydney Cricket Ground, brought to you by Joyce Main Discounts and Sharp. So Radonicus to feed the scrum, and it's out the same tunnel. Referee Greg Hartley wants it again, and he's telling both hookers to get up. Timepiece going to the 10-minute mark, and a penalty goes to Great Britain. Feed across the scrum is the ruling. And a chance for John Woods, I would imagine, to come up. The centre three-quarter, prolific goal kicker, Woods. There he is in number 4, to take a kick at goal from right in front.
And this was the opportunity, too, that their skipper, George Nichols, was looking for, because he was very critical of the refereeing performance up in Brisbane when he felt that Australia were given opportunities in the opening 20 minutes or so to pile up points via the boot of Mick Crone, of course, whereas their goal kicker, Woods, didn't get any opportunities in late in the game. Well, this is a wonderful opportunity now for Great Britain to draw first blood.
Here's John Woods now. He kicked something like 27 goals from his first 31 attempts on tour, and he strikes it. It looks good. It's up the flags, and it's Great Britain 2. Australia, no score after 11 minutes of the second test.
Joyce Main's doing it again, but this time she really means business, because the Sharp Corporation will pay for this commercial when Joycey's sold $1 million worth of Sharp stock, and Joycey's keeping her fingers and everything else crossed.
Joyce, how are you going to sell $1 million worth of Sharp products?
Well, hopefully, Harry, that's going to be easy by offering my customers my best possible prices, and here are a few examples.
Touch-tune 33cm Sharp colour TVs, suggested price $529, Joycey's price $399, a difference of $130. Dolby stereo cassette deck with Sharp's automatic program search system was $229, now $179, save $50.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
How much is this one, Joyce?
These are my EMS demonstration models, Harry. My new price was $297. My demo price $199. That's a saving of $98.
Why buy elsewhere when you could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
Did you know your face accumulates 2 kinds of dirt? One is surface dirt you can wash away. The other is deep dirt trapped in oil, soap and water leave behind. So you need NeoClean Medicated Deep Cleanser for facial skin. Soap and water remove surface dirt. NeoClean removes deep dirt soap and water leave behind, helping prevent skin problems. Better here than on your face.
NeoClean, for the clean you can feel and others can see.
Don't let this innocent-looking pack of chewing gum fool you. It comes from Denmark and, like the Danes themselves, cool on the surface, but underneath, breathtaking. Stimorol has a clean, fresh, unashamed taste with a lot of staying power. So if you think you're mature enough, try Stimorol, the gum that goes with almost anything, from the country where almost anything goes.
Hello, bosun. What are you shoving for? What is it, eh? What can you see, eh? What is it? Wow, what have we got here?
Owing to a growing demand, There are now 7 different 9 lives. Fish varieties and meat varieties. 9 lives for finicky cats.
So Cronin to start for the Australians, and sending it down to the fullback for Great Britain, George Fairbairn. He has Dave Behrens running with him on his left, but Fairbairn is tackled on the 22 line. He's going to play it back to the hooker Ward, away to Holmes, and this is Casey. And he's tackled around the legs by Tom Raudonikis, over the top by Alan Thompson. Played back to Ward, and Ward it is that works it outside the 22, but again Raudonikis is there to make the tackle. Ball played back to Stevens, given away to Holmes, and then on to Nichols. Nichols steps around a couple of Australians and is just outside the 22, but unable to breach the defence of Craig Young and George Peponis. Played back to Ward. Ward running across the field, serving the pass out, and kicked forward there by the Great Britain wing three-quarter Eric Hughes. But it's Australia back in possession, with Steve Rogers now to play it. A metre on the opponent's side of halfway. Given away from Bousted to Eadie, and Eadie is held there by Gratian. And over the top was the 5/8 Holmes. Out to Thompson, given to Young, and Young takes it up to the halfway and beyond that point, about 5 metres before his progress is halted. Craig Young playing the ball, and this is Tommy Raudonikis giving it to Thompson. Then it goes to Reddy, and Reddy is still able to stand, and the Great Britain side are going to have to put Reddy down. And there's Raudonikis taking it ahead. 9 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. Played back to Peponis. Reddy appears injured in the back play as it goes to Boyd. Boyd standing, getting a one-handed pass away to Peponis, then on to Price. Price it is, getting the pass around the corner to Cronin. On the inside is Korowa. Korowa taken there about 15 metres out by Fairbairn. Good tackle by the English fullback. Out to Raudonikis now. This is Alan Thompson giving it to Boyd, and Boyd is met by Mick Adams. Stands and looks to get rid of the ball, but it's an Englishman who has it, yes. Gary Stevens plays it back to David Ward. Stevens again. Outside the 22, taken by Reddy and Rod Morris. And the ball being played back to Mick Adams now. Gave service to the Canterbury Bankstown side in Sydney. George Nichols, about 9 metres out from his quarter line. Great Britain leading Australia 2-0 after 14 minutes of time gone. Holmes floating the pass across to Joyner, but Joyner drops it. Referee Hartley indicating that the ball went backwards. A lot of people dispute that ruling, as Fairbairn has given the ball. A little chip through by Fairbairn, and Raudonikis in a race for the ball with him, but it's down to Ray Price for Australia, and Price is held there by the hooker Ward, about 11 metres out from the 22. Played back to Peponis, given away to Reddy. On it goes to Rogers, fumbling the ball there for a brief moment as he comes to Fairbairn and also Nichols, and Fairbairn it is that makes the tackle. Still just outside the 22 on the Great Britain end of the field. It's out with Alan Thompson in number 6 and given away to Graham Eadie, and he is eventually tackled about 7 metres out from the quarter line. From Raudonikis blindside to Young, and then on to Cronin in number 4, and Adams comes over the top with Joyner to put Cronin to ground.
There's a little bit more stick coming into the defence of the British side too. Alan Thompson took a long time to get up just a minute ago, and that was a good heavy tackle on Cronin.
So Rod Morris now on the last tackle for Australia, playing it just outside the quarter line. Peponis gives it to Raudonikis, then it goes on to Thompson. Thompson gives it to Cronin. Cronin decides not to pass originally. Now he looks to get rid of it, gives it to Bousted. Bousted turns it back on the inside to Thompson, and that's the end of 6 and the scrum to go down in the Sheridan stand corner just outside the quarter line on the Great Britain end of the field. 2-0 in favour of the touring side. 15 minutes gone. Gary Stevens to work the scrum. Won by Australia. Bousted going from the right wing, taking it across to the centre of the field and tackled on the quarter line. Played by Bousted back to Price, then to Thompson, now to Raudonikis. Raudonikis plays it to Thompson. He gives a long ball out to Reddy. Reddy working towards the scoreboard corner, and it's a race for the ball between Behrens and Cronin. And it's into touch in goal, and referee Hartley ruling a line dropout. Coming off one of the Great Britain players, Behrens it was. And so the line dropout
Adams and Casey, two new players in this Great Britain pack, are providing plenty of work out there. They're getting through a fair amount of work in defence. They're still having problems with the Australian ball carrier. They're getting the pass away, but unfortunately they're not picking up their runners at the moment.
I see the 5/8 Holmes making some indications just on the right of your screen. He seems to be suffering a rib injury as the penalty goes to Australia. They're all across the goal line in front of the kicker, and a presentation two-pointer for Mick Cronin.
Casey, the second rower, obviously didn't agree with Hartley's ruling, and he voiced his opinion, and he's going to cop a caution from Hartley right in centre field. But as you said, Ray, a gift 2 points now to level up the score.
And behind this reprimand, if you like, going out from Hartley, the 5/8 Holmes is receiving attention from the trainer, and it does appear to be a rib cage injury that John Holmes is suffering from, as Cronin prepares to level the scoreline up. Great Britain leading by 2-0 after 18 minutes of time gone, but most definitely it'll be 2 points all after Cronin takes the simplest of penalty kicks at goal. Let's have a look at the scrums and penalties for you in this test match. The scrums are 3-2 to Australia, and the penalties 1 apiece. Australia has dropped the ball on 4 occasions and have held the ball for 6 tackles on 4 occasions. Great Britain haven't been able to hold it for 6 tackles, and no drop balls against them, but there's the 2-pointer to Cronin, and the scoreline is levelled up. Great Britain and Australia 2 points all in the second test, brought to you by Joyce Main Discounts and Sharp. So we're back for the restart at the halfway mark with John Holmes to do the honours.
A good opening 20 minutes as far as Great Britain were concerned, but condition, of course, is going to be the deciding factor as far as they're concerned. Their defence has tightened up considerably, and at the moment, although they've been under a lot of pressure, they've hung out on and kept Australia out. 2 points all after 20 minutes. We know that Australia are going to continue to apply this pressure. It's just a matter of whether the English defence now can sustain them.
This is Les Boyd getting up to play the ball midway between the quarter and the halfway on the Australian end of the field. It's come from Craig Young to Rod Morris, and Morris is taken by Joyner and Stevens. Play is practically on the halfway mark now as Paponis gives it to Rodonicus. He gives quick service to Thompson, then cuts out ready with a pass to Rogers, then on to Cronin. Cronin going over towards the showground touchline. Had Corowa in support, but he's held there, Cronin, by Holmes and by Adams. Played back to Corowa, given immediately to Thompson, and then on to Young, and Young is taken to ground by Gratian. 6 metres short of the halfway mark. Played back to Paponis, given to Rodonicus, working the blind side, then to Price, and Price is held by Casey and Holmes, and that's the end of the tackle count, and another scrum to go down almost right on the halfway mark. Now, thanks to the boys at Telecom today who've come in off the strike that currently is tying up communications around the country, but they've come in today to allow this telecast to be beamed on a national basis, and our thanks to them. It's with Cronin giving it down to Eadie, who picked it up nicely before giving it to Rogers. Rogers having a bit of trouble handling today, and he's eventually held by John Woods on the halfway mark. Ball is played and it's gone to Rodonicus. Rodonicus in centre field is tackled by Len Casey. Played back to Thompson. This is Boyd, and Boyd is about 10 metres out from the 22. Out to Rodonicus and on to Reddy. Reddy met by Gratian and by Nichols. About 5 metres out from the quarter line. This is Alan Thompson. Now Ray Price turns his back on the defence, gets it away to Alan Thompson, then inside to Rodonicus. And Rodonicus reaches the quarter line on the 5th tackle. Tackled by David Ward. And it's a penalty to Australia. Offside against the centre. Number 4, John Woods.
Australia having a bit of a problem putting their game together at the moment. The forwards appear to be bunching a little bit, and they're not running off each other with anywhere near the same purpose and drive that they displayed in Brisbane.
So there's the kick by Cronin, looking good from here. 1 up, 1 down. Referee Hartley says no goal. So the ball coming out to the 22 for the restart. And off the boot of Holmes, it's down to Bousted. Bousted for Australia, reaching the halfway mark. 2 points all the score, 22 minutes gone. It's with Craig Young. And he's 10 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway as Peponis comes across the field. And then straightens up Peponis with a good run by the captain, giving it away to Mick Cronin.
Gee, and he was looking for Rogers, wasn't he? He was just that yard too far behind.
But this is Les Boyd now, just inside the quarter line. Ball being played by Boyd, out to Rodonicus, across to Thompson, then on to Reddy. This is Eadie. This is Rogers. Rogers inside the 22. Rogers stands him up and goes in to score. First try to Australia. Scored by Steve Rogers. Australia 5, Great Britain 2. And here it is on the replay. As it went from Reddy across to Eadie, and then Eadie got a good ball to Steve Rogers, and Rogers scoots down towards that scoreboard corner and around Fairbairn and planting the ball down some 10 metres in from the touchline. This is how it looked head on.
Yes, and he certainly wasn't a yard behind the play on that occasion. He was able to chime into the back line brilliantly there, took the pass from Eadie and cleared right away. He beat fullback Fairbairn with a good change of place and a swerve, got around him, and of course the first three-pointer to Australia. Some brilliant play by Steve Rogers.
So the attempted conversion to be taken by Mick Cronin just outside the quarter line. He's about 10 metres in from touch. This telecast brought to you by Joyce Main Discounts and Sharp. And the man of the match winning a microwave oven. A Sharp microwave oven from Joyce Main Discounts. So the Cronin attempt. And Australia leading by 5 points to 2. Cronin's kick is all right from here. It's a goal and a further 2 points. Australia 7, Great Britain 2. 24 minutes gone in the match.
Well, that's a setback to Great Britain's hopes now, isn't it? They've been under a lot of pressure, but that was the first time that their defence had been really breached. They don't have too many opportunities of getting into an attacking situation themselves. They haven't got the pace, I don't think, to score length of the field tries. They're nowhere near the pace of the Australian side, and I should imagine that the kicking that they introduced into their play in the early couple of minutes should have been continued to get down into Australian territory with the hope that they can get possession down there and attack. We know that they have clever ball players in the side, but they're certainly not the real pace that's going to pressure this Australian defence.
So it's Peponis turning it around to Rod Morris, and Morris is held just a fraction on the Great Britain side of the halfway, with Australia leading by 7 points to 2. Rodonicus giving it to Price. Price turning it to Eadie. And Eadie is held there by Casey in number 9 for Great Britain. Out to Rodonicus. Thompson, flick pass to Boyd. Boyd up the centre is met by Skerritt and eventually pulled down by that man in combination with lock forward Mick Adams. Out to Rodonicus, on to Thompson. And Thompson is tackled there by Jeff Gratian. And so this scrum will form a few metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. We're 26 minutes into the match now, with Australia leading by 7 points to 2. A try by Rogers. And an Australian scrum win, and Ray Price plays it back to Rodonicus. It's gone out to Thompson, across to Eadie, then on to Rogers. Rogers is taken to ground this time by Joyner and plays it back to Collower. This is Thompson, now Price, and Price is about 15 metres on the Lion side of halfway, taken in the tackle by Nichols. This is Craig Young now. A couple of the Englishmen starting to get up a little bit more slowly. And it's Rodonicus peppering the blind side before turning it back through Peponis onto Young. And Young is held there by Trevor Skerritt. And it comes across to Alan Thompson. He dummies to Rodonicus, gives it to Reddy. Reddy throws one dummy before spiralling a ball out to Rogers. And Rogers is pulled down by Nichols. players about 10 metres out from the Great Britain 22 as it works its way towards the showground side of the cricket ground and given to Reddy. And Reddy is this time tied up with the ball. And that's one of the very few times that Great Britain have actually taken Reddy with a blocking tackle.
Yes, the Australian utilising their full 6 tackles to their fullest, of course, and that's the 7th occasion in the match so far, and it's good tactics. They're leading in the scrums 5-2 at this stage. We haven't seen Fairburn under any pressure from the hay bomb, with Australia content to continue to attack with the express intention, of course, of coming up with a try.
So the scrum is fed by Gary Stevens, won by Australia. Radonicus out to Thompson. Thompson gives it to Cronin. Cronin going over the 22. Cronin being chased by Berens. They won't catch him. And Cronin scores Australia's second try. Australia's Mick Cronin scoring the second try in this fashion. Watch Steve Rogers. He runs as a foil for Cronin. Off this ball from Thompson. Thompson looks at Rogers, and Rogers actually took the attention of the Englishman, and then it was fed on a shorter passage to Cronin, who outsprinted Berens to score adjacent to the uprights. Head on, Keith Barnes.
Yes, it was certainly a majestic try, wasn't it? Well rehearsed and well timed, but some lacklustre defence by the Great Britain side, which allowed Cronin to turn and get through the gap. But of course, once he did sight opening, the 3-pointer was on the board, and Australia now taking a commanding lead, 10 points to 2, with a kick to come in an easy position with Cronin in his present goal-kicking form. 12 points to 2 after 30 minutes. Great Britain really uphill once again.
So Mick Cronin scoring, I believe, his first try in an Australian-Great Britain test match. He had up to today, I believe, scored something like 44 points as he pilots that one between the uprights, and Australia lead by 12 points to 2 now.
Joyce Main's doing it again, but this time she really means business, because the Sharp Corporation will pay for this commercial when Joycey sold $1 million worth of Sharp stock, and Joycey's keeping her fingers and everything else crossed.
Joyce, how are you going to sell $1 million worth of Sharp products?
Well, hopefully, Harry, that's going to be easy by offering my customers my best possible prices, and here are a few examples.
Touch-tune 33-centimetre Sharp colour TVs, suggested price $529, Joycey's price $399, a difference of $130. Dolby stereo cassette deck with Sharp's automatic program search system was $229, now $179, save $50.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
How much is this one, Joyce?
These are my EMS demonstration models, Harry. My new price was $297. My demo price $199. That's a saving of $98.
Why buy elsewhere when you could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
A lot of people have put off caravanning because of this, and rightly so. They're afraid of getting into uncontrollable situations. Now, Viscount have ended that with their revolutionary Safe Ride system. You can see the difference immediately. Less swerve, more stability, less wear and tear, and above all, safer driving. You won't pay any more either, because Safe Ride is standard equipment on most Viscount models. It is not an optional extra.
It'll do me.
Inside Viscount, you can now see more outside, because all Viscount caravans are fitted with panoramic starlight windows. Interiors are roomy and luxuriously finished, with home-size appliances.
It'll do me.
For the frame, old-fashioned wood is out. Naturally, Viscount are all aluminium. It won't crack, split, warp, or rot.
Viscount, it'll do me.
And me.
Viscount caravans with a revolutionary Safe Ride system now showing at your local Viscount dealer.
Your first National City Traveller's checks. Your financial passport to the world.
Thanks. Are you sure it's what you want? I'll pay you with First National City Traveller's checks.
Of course. To me, good as cash.
And if they're lost or stolen, there are over 45,000 refund centres worldwide already authorised to give refunds then and there. That's thousands more than any other kind. Ask your bank for First National City Traveller's checks. Your financial passport to the world.
Why do so many European women have such beautiful hair? Pantene. With exclusive Swiss ingredients that nourish and promote healthy hair. Shampoos, conditioners and treatments that work together to make hair beautiful. More than just the cosmetic half of hair care. Pantene adds the scientific half for healthy hair. Pantene by Roche of Switzerland.
earlier matches today. The University Shield at noon was won by Karingbar High. They defeated Kirawee High 23-16 in a real Sharks duel. And the University Cup, that went to Macquarie University over Sydney University 18-3. So Puponis to dummy half. Now to Young. And he's taken by Holmes up the top. And also involved in the tackle was Skerritt. This is Morris. And it would be a pretty worried Eric Ashton, I would think, at the moment, the English coach. In fact, there he is sitting back with a look of great concern. As streaming through the green and golds with Rhodonicus. 10 metres out from the 22. Playing it back to George Puponis. And Puponis, who's made a couple of breaks for Australia, gives the pass one-handed to Rod Morris, who will play it on the quarter line, right in centre field. Out to Reddy, running across towards the showground side, brushed aside one would-be tackler, gives it to Eadie, on to Korowa. Korowa stops, gets the pass back inside to Thompson. Thompson gets the pass back, it's gone to ground. And referee Hartley is ruling a Great Britain ball, is he? Yes, being played by Gary Stevens. This is Ward. Play just inside the quarter line. Australia leading by 12 points to 2 now. It's with Nichols. Getting the pass away to Mick Adams. And he's tackled by Reddy and also by Alan Thompson. As it's played back to Stevens, given away to Nichols. And he's taken in a bootlace tackle by Puponis. Out to Stevens, across to Holmes. Holmes gets his pass down to Fairburn. And he's taken by Steve Rogers. One of the 2 try scorers in the match so far. Holmes kicking ahead now for Great Britain, taken by Eadie. And he got a very favourable bounce, Eadie, but Holmes comes from behind to halt his progress and eventually put him to ground.
It was a very bad kick by Holmes, though, wasn't it? It was just a matter of saying to Eadie, you can have the ball. He didn't put it anywhere near high enough to give himself the opportunity of getting to the ball himself, and it was low trajectory.
Craig Young now making a run for Australia, and a good long run too. It's gone back and touched by Great Britain and eventually picked up by another Australian following through in the form of second row forward Boyd. This is Rhodonicus giving it to Reddy. Reddy still getting that ball free, giving it back to Ray Price. He gets a pass away to Cronin. He unloads quickly to Bousted. Bousted turning on the speed. Comes to Fairburn and taken by Fairburn. Played by Bousted. Fairburn didn't appreciate Bousted lashing out when held in the tackle. It's gone across to Price. Quick hands and there's a try on. Out to Cronin. On to Reddy. Out to Boyd. Boyd. Korowa comes inside. Korowa stepping for the line but pulled down. Just a couple of metres out.
And the movement of the ball wasn't quite quick enough then.
Reddy now. On to Thompson. Little kick through. Cronin. Cronin dives on it. That's a try. Mick Cronin scoring his second try. Australia 15, Great Britain 2, and this is how it happened. The little kick through by Thompson. You can see Cronin well onside, and the ball dived on by the prolific point scorer Mick Cronin. Let's have a look at that on the head-on shot.
And that's the type of try that we usually attribute to the Englishman. A very clever piece of play by Thompson, and he was probably a little unfortunate that he didn't come up with the try himself. He was just beaten to it by Mick Cronin. But now, of course, 15 points to 2 with a kick to come.
So we're 8 minutes out from half-time. Australia 15, Great Britain 2. Mick Cronin has scored 2 tries now and kicked 3 goals. And in fact, his record reads 3 goals from 4 attempts. I think in test matches before the start of today, I'm right in saying 44 points was the total for Cronin, as he adds a further 2 points to that tally. Australia 17, Great Britain 2. And if that 44 estimate of mine is right, then Cronin has now boosted that by another 14, taking it up to 58 points. So there's the timepiece for you, indicating that we've had almost 35 minutes of time, and straight through the legs of Korowa, and he's back on his own goal line, running it out. He comes to Gratian and is tackled 10 metres away from the Australian line, played by Korowa, going away with it. Rodinicus, he's lost it, picked up by Great Britain. Nichols now with it, and it's been lost, and a penalty goes to Great Britain. That's for stealing the ball. And for one brief moment I thought the Australian line may have been crossed. We've had an hour and 55 minutes of test match football in this series, and still Great Britain unable to cross the Australian line.
Well, that was the first opportunity that they had with to get even close to the Australian line, but certainly they've taken the opportunity to put points on the board via the boot of Woods. But 17 points to 2 with 5 minutes before half-time. Of course, Great Britain are virtually out of this game as much as they were in Brisbane.
So John Woods it is, taking this attempted penalty, and he kicks it. So it's 2 out of 2 to Woods, and the scoreline: Australia 17, Great Britain 4, with just under 5 minutes of the first half remaining in the second test. Brought to you by Joyce Main Discounts and Sharp. So Mick Cronin for the restart. And so it goes down to Mick Adams. And Adams held by Boyd and by Rod Morris. Through Casey it went to Skerritt. Skerritt is held by Boyd and Craig Young this time. Played back to David Ward. Given to Stevens. Tackled by Morris. Played back to Ward again. This is Adams. Now it's with Nichols. And Nichols has taken play about 11 metres out from the quarter line. And Hartley has restarted the tackle count. Played back to Ward. Given to Stevens. Stevens must have been very close to bringing a Shepherd against his side. Across to Nichols again. Turns it on the inside to Adams, but the Australian defence is very, very tight. Morris the tackler. Nichols again. Now Holmes. Given back to Gratian. And he's taken there by Mick Cronin and by Alan Thompson. Struggling to get free from the tackle. Plays it back to Fairbairn. It's with Holmes. Floating a ball out to Mick Adams. It's with Len Casey. Casey gets the pass away to Holmes. Then it goes on to John Joyner. Joyner's down over the halfway mark for Great Britain. Barentz is coming inside. Barentz juggling it, losing it. And Australia still not having their line crossed. That was another opportunity for the Great Britain side.
Yes, it was. Joyner showed good pace to get through on that occasion, but I thought that even if Barentz had taken the pass, he was well and truly covered by 3 Australian defenders that were converging on him very quickly.
Rodinicus. Young. Short ball to Price. Taken by Gratian and Casey. And Price playing the ball back to Peponis. This is Boyd. Losing his footing and taken by Skerritt. Peponis away to Rodinicus. Now to Thompson. Standing deep as Rogers with the ball now. And Rogers is halted 10 metres short of the halfway mark. This is the last tackle for the Australians. Rod Morris running with it on the blind side. Turning it back to Craig Young. And Young takes the ball to ground. So the scrum will go down just on the Australian side of halfway. And we're about 90 seconds out from half-time. 17-4 in favour of Australia. With 3 tries, 2 by Cronin, 1 by Rogers. And Cronin has kicked 4 goals from 5 attempts. For Great Britain, they're 4 points off the boot of John Woods. He's had 2 shots for 2 successes. Continuing a remarkable touring average for goal kicking. As it comes across to Holmes. He gives a long ball back to Fairbairn. Fairbairn tries to split Rogers and Cronin, but Rogers closes the gap. And Fairbairn will play it back to John Woods. Given on the blind side to Gratian. Gratian takes it up to the halfway mark. And Reddy is low, Cronin is high. Played back again to Woods, given away to Stevens. Now it's with Holmes, out to Casey. And Casey is taken by Alan Thompson. Players right on the halfway mark, but it's a penalty to Great Britain. what's that done with the penalty count? Takes it along to 3-2 in favour of Great Britain. And the scrum situation favours Australia 6-3. As George Fairbairn, one of the last-minute recruits, called out by the touring side last weekend with John Burke, takes the kick for touch, and a good kick too from the halfway mark, finding it inside the 22 line. There's the kicker, Fairbairn, and now the tap will be taken by the hooker, David Wood. Out to George Nichols. A bad pass, but beautifully picked up by Gratian, a big man, taken to ground. The siren sounds, and referee Hartley calls a halt to the first half of this second test between Australia and Great Britain as the players file from the field. Australia 17, Great Britain 4.
Joyce Main's doing it again, but this time she really means business, because the Sharp Corporation will pay for this commercial when Joycey sold $1 million worth of Sharp stock, and Joycey's keeping her fingers and everything else crossed.
Joyce, how are you going to sell $1 million worth of Sharp products?
Well, hopefully, Harry, that's going to be easy by offering my customers my best possible prices. And here are a few examples.
Touch-tune 33-centimetre Sharp colour TVs, suggested price $529, Joycey's price $399, a difference of $130. Dolby stereo cassette deck with Sharp's automatic program search system was $229, now $179, save $50.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
How much is this one, Joyce?
These are my EMS demonstration models, Harry. My new price was $297. My demo price $199. That's a saving of $98.
Why buy elsewhere when you could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
People come in all shapes and sizes, and so should loans, because people's individual needs are as different as they are. At Person to Person, we recognize this, so our loans are as different as our customers. Some are big, some are small, some have deferred payment plans, others are extended loans. And we create these loans to suit your individual needs by talking to you, person to person. Person to person, because everybody is different.
You can send urgent parcels interstate anytime, because Ansett Air Cargo is going all the time, with fast jet services virtually every hour of the day, every day of the year, with airport to airport, depot to depot, or door-to-door pickup and delivery anywhere in the metropolitan area. Australia-wide Ansett Air Cargo. Very frequent, very fast, very convenient. Call Ansett Airlines Air Cargo. We know what urgent means.
And so at half-time, it's 17-4 in favour of Australia over Great Britain, with Australia having registered 3 tries and 4 goals, 2 of them scored by Mick Cronin, 1 by Steve Rogers, and of course Mick Cronin adding the extras off his very reliable boot. For the Great Britain side, of course, there are 2 penalties kicked by John Woods. But the scrum situation, Australia 6, Great Britain 3, the penalties 3-2 to Great Britain. The errors, Australia have made 6 in the drop ball department, Great Britain 1. Cronin has kicked 4 goals from 5 attempts, Woods 2 out of 2. The scoring opened at the 11th minute with John Woods, the Great Britain centre, kicking a goal to send Great Britain to a 2-0 lead. But then the excitement of Test match football started to really come alive, with Cronin equalising at the 19th minute before Steve Rogers crossed for Australia's first try at the 24th minute. Let's pick up the highlights of the first half with that try scored by Steve Rogers. Ball being played by Boyd, out to Rodonicus, across to Thompson, then on to Reddy. This is Edie. This is Rogers. Rogers inside the 22. Rogers stands him up and goes in to score. First try to Australia. So the scrum is fed by Gary Stevens, won by Australia. Rodonicus out to Thompson. Thompson gives it to Cronin. Cronin going over the 22. Cronin being chased by Berens. They won't catch him. And Cronin scores Australia's second try. Ready now. On to Thompson. Little kick through. Cronin. Cronin dives on it. That's a try. And so there are the highlights of the first half, with Mick Cronin scoring 2 tries. He hadn't scored a try in Australia-Great Britain Test matches up to the start of this match today. Cronin 2 tries, Rogers a try, and the centres having a very good game for Australia. We'll be back for the second half of the second test, with Australia leading 17-4 in just a moment.
City lights and see the sights and naughty nights and dressed in whites and hold on tight. dancing shoes and prancing shoes and loving shoes and good news shoes and play the blues. Windsor Smith, everything you want a boot or shoe to be. Windsor Smith will fit your feet in footwear's finest, hard to beat boots and shoes. How can you lose? Windsor Smith, they've got your number.
Feel it, natural shine, you can feel it. Loxine shine, you can feel it.
Loxine's enriched with natural ingredients. Natural ingredients to give you a natural shine. A shine you can actually feel.
Shine, you can feel it. Loxine shine, you can feel it.
Let me show you where the action is. Let me show you where the action is. The Sydney Sun is where the action is. Running magnificently, he's got them. It's a try and a half. He's got them to Smith. That is a crazy try.
Great try, Les.
If you're as wet in rugby league as we are, you just have to read the Sun.
That's right, Les, because all the rugby league action is in the Sun.
It's where the action is.
United Permanent now offers up to 10% on a 12-month select term account. Now, that's a very good rate, probably better than you're getting now. Backed by United Permanent, a big society, safe and secure, with nearly $600 million in assets. Get the benefit of the new 10% rate at United Permanent, with interest paid twice a year.
United Permanent feeling.
Come to United Permanent for high interest on all your savings.
Great Britain side certainly haven't, but Australia weren't putting their game together with the precision that they did in Brisbane, and then suddenly in that 24th minute they clicked and rattled on 3 tries. And now I should imagine that Frank Stanton would have instilled in them in the dressing room prior to coming out for the second half the importance of going right on with the job and placing as many points on the board as they can. And I think Great Britain are in for a torrid second 40 minutes.
So the restart of the second half, and it's Great Britain's wing three-quarter Eric Hughes tackled just inside the 22. Taking it up is Skerritt, as he plays the ball back to David Ward. It goes to Nichols, and Nichols looks to unload, but is pulled down, not held, says referee Hartley. Ward it is that takes the play further downfield over the halfway mark, and a good long run there by the Great Britain side through George Nichols and David Ward. Sees play around the halfway mark. It goes on through Holmes and across to Casey, and Casey is held there by Rodonicus and Boyd. Casey playing it now. Plays it back to Skerritt, away to Stevens, on to Holmes. Holmes on to Gratian. Gratian over the halfway mark, but is tackled there by Steve Rogers. Australia 17, Great Britain 4 in the opening minute of the second half of this second test match, and the ball goes to Casey. Casey gets his pass away, pulled in nicely by George Nichols. Given to Joyner. Here's a try coming up for Great Britain. Yes, Joyner scores. Joyner scores Great Britain's first try in this test series after 121 minutes of football. As the break was made, raked in nicely by George Nichols, and then to Joyner, who's between Corowa and the Australian fullback Graham Eadie, and is in to score below the uprights. So the score is 17 points to 7 now in favour of Australia.
And obviously the Australian defence didn't take notice of Frank Stanton's word in the dressing room at half-time, because no sooner did Great Britain come onto the field than they put that 3 points on the board that we were talking about just a couple of minutes ago. And full marks to Nichols, of course, who was the instigator of the try. And Joyner showed good pace too to get away from Corowa and Rogers and go in underneath the posts. And now, of course, it's brought Great Britain. It's given them the injection of life that they'd badly needed, because 17 points to 4, they were out of the game. 17 points to 9, it looks a little bit healthier. And, of course, they've got to turn and put more points on the board now to get any chance at all of square in the Ashes. But a great start as far as the Great Britain boys are concerned.
And so it's Great Britain back inside their own quarter line. And the scoreline 17 points to 9 in favour of Australia. As the ball is played back by Nichols, and with it is Stevens, giving it to Holmes, and then a long ball out to Woods, the centre. And he's tackled about 12 metres out from the 22. Away to Gary Stevens, on to Holmes. Now it's with Casey. And Casey is tackled by Rodonicus around the legs and over the top by Rod Reddy. Stevens now kicking. And a bad kick taken by Eadie. And Eadie takes it about 10 metres onto the line side of halfway. Tackled there by the hooker, David Ward. Eadie to play the ball back to George Paponis. This is Rod Morris. On the blind side, Craig Young. About 10 metres out from the 22. Australia now back onto the attack with Boyd. Over the top of Adams, inside the 22, but he's eventually halted by Skerritt. About 15 metres out from the Great Britain line. Out to Rodonicus, on to Thompson, now to Reddy, Cronin, Rogers, has Bousted on the outside. Bousted drops it, and it's a Great Britain ball. Only about 18 metres out from their line. Running it out is Nichols. And tackled by Cronin. Gratian unloading the ball back to Casey. Casey now. Great Britain starting to make some inroads into the Australian defence.
Well, they've certainly started the second half in determined fashion. They were let off the hook, of course, when Bousted dropped that good pass from Cronin. It hit him on the chest. He should have taken it, allowed Great Britain to regain possession, and then we saw Casey make that good burst, but I thought he was well engineered into the touchline by Bousted. He allowed him to get on the outside of him and then drove him into touch, which was a good bit of play by the Australian winger.
The scrum is won by Great Britain, you'll find. That's if it does eventually get out. Penalty to Australia. It's against Stevens for going into the scrum.
Yes, and they wouldn't be too happy about that because they've been hamstrung, of course, because they haven't had as much possession as they would have liked. Paponis won the first half scrums to the tune of 6-3, a 2-1 majority, of course, and Great Britain, they can't do much without the ball. They're under a lot of pressure from this Australian defence, but they have come back in the second half, and they've got a lot of the people wondering in the crowd now whether they can go on with it.
So Rogers finding touch about 15 metres out from the Great Britain line, and a show of temper from the fullback Fairburn. Ruling was given by the touch judge that he was over the touch line when he actually got a hand to the kick from Cronin. And a replacement going out onto the sideline for Great Britain in 15. That's Dave Watkinson. As we go back to the action now, and it's Paponis giving the ball to Morris, and Morris is 10 metres out from the Great Britain line. Played it back to Rogers, across to Rodonicus, now to Thompson, on to Cronin, cuts out Eadie, goes to Price. Price now is held by Ward and put down about 15 metres out from the line. Ray Price plays it back to Thompson. Rodonicus decides to try and go himself, but Mick Adams is there to pull the Australian halfback down. Reddy into dummy half. Out to Craig Young. The run around with Reddy, then pop back to Boyd. And Boyd was taken in a jolting tackle by Trevor Skerritt. Ball played back to Paponis, given away to Rodonicus. Out to Cronin, on to Price. Now to Bousted. Bousted almost around his man. Got a pass away. Backing up was Graham Eadie, but that's the end of 6 on the scrum to pack down.
And he's certainly a great favourite with the Sydney Cricket Ground crowd, young Bousted. Every time he gets the ball, of course, you've got the feeling that something is going to eventuate, and the crowd certainly rise to their feet. And invariably, he doesn't let them down too. He's a very exciting player.
So replaced for Great Britain is Trevor Skerritt. Number 13 off, replaced by 15, Dave Watkinson, who's recognised as a hooker. But he has played prop and second row as they win the scrum. And this is Eric Hughes, tackled by Alan Thompson, still only about 10 metres out from the Great Britain line, from Stevens to Adams. And Adams is taken by Rodonicus and by Thompson. Played back to Stevens, given away to Casey. And Great Britain trying to work the play out of this danger zone.
And certainly Great Britain forced into the situation there of bringing the replacement on, because Skerritt is limping very heavily as he's leaving the field, and that's a big blow to Great Britain, because he's one of their best defensive forwards.
Watkinson it was that played the ball on the quarter line through Ward. It's gone through Holmes and on to Mick Adams. And Adams is tackled there by Rod Reddy and Ray Price. Ball being played back to Ward. Ward gets the kick in. A torpedo punt. It'll roll end on end probably. But in fact takes a bit of a turn towards the centre of the field, and Graham Eadie takes it up with Larry Corowa in support. Barentz takes Eadie, and there was a swinging arm in that tackle from Watkinson.
But Great Britain very slow to get up to Eadie, weren't they?
And so David Ward gives Graham Eadie a stiff right, and a penalty goes to Australia. Hartley laying down the law to the Great Britain hooker.
And they certainly wouldn't want to argue with Hartley, otherwise they'll be marched the 10 yards very, very smartly.
So 17 points to 9 the score. 9 minutes of the second half gone. Great Britain scoring their only try of the Test series so far, with John Joyner crossing after only 60 seconds of the second half. Corowa, midway between the quarter and the halfway on the Great Britain end of the field, playing it back to Paponis, given to Young, then to Paponis. Now it's with Morris, and Morris in centre field will play the ball just inside the quarter line, playing it back to his captain George Paponis. Price on the inside, underneath one, then taken by Watkinson in combination with Casey. Price plays it forward, goes himself again, turns it back to Rhodonicus, and Rhodonicus is pulled down by Casey and by Holmes. Played back to Thompson, given away to Young, then Thompson on the run round, dummies to Reddy, fires the pass back. Bousted dives for it, can't take it, and towed through by Great Britain. Eadie's coming across in defence, towed through again. Chasing the ball is Hughes for Great Britain, Eadie for Australia. Eadie's lost it, and Hughes has dived on it, and the referee has ruled it a fair try. Hartley has given the try to Great Britain's wing three-quarter Eric Hughes. The scoreline has taken a dramatic turnaround, 17-12.
Well,
as the ball is continually booted through by Hughes.
Yes, it certainly has, and Eadie clearly won the race to the ball, and it'll be interesting to see now whether he was able to ground it. He looks as if he's tried to pick it up, and he's lost it as he's gone in his attempt to turn and pick it up, and it looked a fair try.
It is certainly one that is going to be argued. Let's see it on the head-on. Eadie clearly leading the race for the ball from Hughes. It's here that Eadie gets a hand to it. He doesn't get it down. Then he bounces on it with the hip, and Hughes appears to have scored a fair try.
Yes, I think Eadie made a mistake of trying to pick the ball up rather than just go down on it in the in-goal area, and certainly that was a try against the run of the play, and it's really injected some life into this game now. 17 points to 14.
This Wednesday night in the Amco Cup, we've got a double-barrelled situation for you. The match we're telecasting for you at 8:30 is the match between Canterbury and Penrith, whilst up in Brisbane at exactly the same time, Parramatta will be playing Queensland Country, and of course we'll have a score service on that match between Parramatta and Queensland Country, which really holds just as much importance as the match here between Canterbury and Penrith. The situation is, if Penrith win, they go into the semi-finals of their group. If they lose to Canterbury, of course, the group is opened up again to the likes of Canterbury and Cronulla, and we could be looking at a points for and against basis to decide our semi-finalist. But it's all coming to you this Wednesday night on Channel 10 at 8:30.
The wife and I have been breeding foxies for 12 years now. They're a fun-loving dog, and we keep them that way with exercise and plenty of pow. Why pow? Because it's a good solid food and it's packed with meat. Look, you can actually see the chunks of meat. All that goodness, plus Pow's added vitamins and minerals, means your dog is getting a good, nourishing meal.
Our dogs recommend Pal.
And so do we.
City lights and see the sights and naughty nights and dressed in whites and hold on tight. Dancing shoes and prancing shoes and loving shoes and good news shoes and play the blues. Windsor Smith will fit your feet in footwear's finest, hard-to-beat boots and shoes. How can you lose? Windsor Smith, everything you want a boot or shoe to be. Windsor Smith, they've got your number.
You know, even without pan juices, you can make a gravy or a delicious sauce for chops, steaks, sausages, anything. All you need is a packet of Maggi rich meat or brown onion sauce. You simply mix and simmer. Now, look at this. And look at them, with a little Maggi flavour. They tell me every day tastes just like Sunday.
Maggi makes the flavor the closest thing to home.
17-14 in favour of Australia. Cronin with the restart. Taken by Fairbairn. And he's tackled by Rod Morris on the 22 line. Fairbairn to play it. Back to Watkinson, then to Ward. This is Casey. Played back to Stevens. This is Nichols. Got a ball down to Ward, but dropped. And referee Hartley says a knock-on against Les Boyd. We'll see a scrum go down just outside the quarter line on the Lions' end of the field.
And it's hard to realise the transformation that's come into this game now when you realise that Great Britain trailed by 17 points to 4 at half-time, never ever looked at any stage of crossing the Australian line, and then suddenly in the space of 10 or 11 minutes in this second half they've come up with 2 3-pointers, 17 points to 14, and we've got a fisticuff going on in the middle of the field. This is now a traditional Australia-Great Britain test match.
Dave Watkinson let one go from ground level. It missed its mark by about 5 feet, but he certainly came out of there swinging. And so Mick Cronin is going to try and boot Australia to a 5-point lead. They currently lead 17 points to 14. 12 minutes gone in the second half of the second test. Brought to you by Joyce Main Discounts and Sharp. And a test match that's really come alive. 10 points to 0 scored by Great Britain in the second half.
And we've even got a blue going on this famous Sydney Cricket Ground hill.
So Cronin's attempt for penalty. He's kicked 4 out of 5 so far, continuing his magnificent goal-kicking achievements in this series. 10 out of 11 in the first test. 4 out of 5 so far in the second. That one looks good. Touch judges haven't moved. The flags are up. And Australia again kick away to a 5-point lead. 19 points to 14. And that man, Mick Cronin, has now landed some magnificent goals in this series.
Well, he's looking like 15 out of 17 attempts, hasn't he? He's landed 10 out of 11 in Brisbane and now 5 out of 6 out here this afternoon. A wonderful goal kicker, a wonderful player, and having a tremendous influence on this game.
This is Les Boyd. Over the top was Ward, underneath was Gratian. As the ball goes to Radonicus, then to Young. And the big man from St George is tackled by Gratian and Casey, the Bradford Northern second rowers. Radonicus, ready, Edie. On the inside, Bousted. Radonicus making the bust for Australia. And eventually pulled up 10 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. Thompson, Young, Boyd. Rogers on the inside. There goes Rogers, scampering through what certainly weren't huge gaps. Radonicus onto the quarter line. Ball played back to Thompson. Then to Radonicus. 18 metres out from the Great Britain line. Being played back to Paponis. Across to Thompson. Left foot bomb into the corner on the Paddington Hill end. Cronin has it for Australia. Back to Price. And Price is held only about 5 metres out. Played by Price to Paponis. Goes himself, Paponis. Has scored many tries from the dummy half area inside the 10-metre line. Out to Radonicus. Now Thompson, Cronin, cut out. Rogers, Edie, Boyd. Boyd spills it. And Behrens has the ball for England. About 12 metres out from his line. 19-14 the score in favour of Australia. Mick Adams will play it inside the quarter line, back to David Wood. Lost by Nichols, picked up there by Jeff Gratian. Gratian to play it now. Played back to the substitute, and Ward has lost it. And referee Hartley may put a scrum down here unless Australia have got the ball. They have. And it's with Rodonicus away to Young. Then on to Rogers. Cronin coming inside Bousted. But he runs into Casey. And jointly he and Hughes put the little Australian winger down. Rodonicus, Thompson, out to Paponis, on to Reddy. Reddy, sights an opening. Reddy, going for the corner. Yes!
What a magnificent try that was. It looked to me as if he was going to take the ball flat-footed. The English defence stood off him, and then he accelerated straight through the gap, showed tremendous pace to get away from the English defence, and just ran away from Fairburn, the Great Britain fullback. And that's brought Australia now into a much more satisfactory position than they were a few minutes earlier. But what a tremendous try from a great second rower, Rod Reddy.
22 points to 14 in favour of Australia, and this is it on the head-on. Watch Reddy, he seems to stand for a few seconds, and then he steps and goes around Gratian, inside Adams, and then Fairburn comes across, but he's not really making any ground, and Reddy plunges into the M.A. Noble corner for Australia's fourth try. 22 points to 14, and as the angle of the kick confronting Mick Cronin, who has kicked 15 goals out of 17 attempts in the two tests so far. This is probably, well, not probably, but most definitely one of his hardest kicks to date. Well, this Australian side not to be outdone by the resurgence that seem to be coming into the Great Britain attack. Have turned around and piled on 5 points as Cronin puts in probably his worst kick of the series. And the scoreline is Australia 22, Great Britain 14, with 18 minutes of time gone.
I'm Bob Jane, and this is one of my first T-Marts. And this was one of my very first brands of tyre, Cleaver. We've come a long way since then, and so have Cleaver. You've heard me say how I think that Cleaver is one of the best tyres in the world. The owners of cars like these use Cleaver tyres. But if you think expensive cars mean expensive tyres, you're wrong. At any of my 40 T-Marts, you can get a Cleaver V12 steel-belted radial, 185/14 tubeless, fitted and guaranteed for only $49.90. I personally recommend Cleaver, and I support my recommendation with a written guarantee on every purchase. You don't need an expensive car to drive on Cleaver tyres. We offer terms or bank card, backed with professional service. So visit any one of my T-Marts today.
We thought our old warehouse had enough space to last for ages, but it didn't. So to make the best use of our new one, we sought some professional help. We talked to Dexion. You see, Dexion has this theory that it's not always how much space you've got, but it's how you use it. They designed this heavy-duty system, made it and installed it. Dexion's one complete service has solved all our storage problems.
Dexion.
Think you can do it, George?
If you want to drill to fill all your handyman ambitions, get yourself a Black & Decker drill to do it. Black & Decker's more than willing to do all kinds of drilling. Black & Decker is the right way to do it.
Black & Decker drills, all comfortable to hold, powerful to use, and priced right.
Oh, you can do it, Black & Decker. Nothing to it, Black & Decker. Black & Decker, it's the right way to do it.
Hi. What do you want most for your savings?
Well, I work hard enough to get it, so at least I want worthwhile interest.
St George's got it. At up to 10% per annum, interest adds up fast. And what do you want for your savings?
Oh, I want to travel, so I want the interest, of course. But most I like that nice feeling of a name I know well looking after my savings.
St George's got it. Whatever you want for your savings.
St. George has got it.
Why would you keep your savings anywhere else?
And so the restart. Hartley just having a quick chat to one of the touch judges. The record points scored in a Great Britain-Australian series, 48 in 56-57 by Lewis Jones. Or should I say the record in a series, that was Great Britain-France in 56-57 by Lewis Jones. Mick Cronin, of course, has now 36 points to his credit in this series. So he certainly, come the third test, could be looking at breaking that record in test football held currently by Lewis Jones. Craig Young to Reddy and to Cronin. And it's again with Reddy. And Reddy into touch on the member stand side, about 5 metres on Great Britain side of the halfway. 19 minutes of the second half gone. And the scrums and penalties. The scrums favour Australia 6-4. The penalties 5-3 now to Australia. Scrum penalties 2-1 to Australia. And the drop balls 9 by Australia, 3 by Great Britain. Cronin, as I told you, has kicked 5 from 7. And Woods, the Great Britain goal kicker, 4 out of 4. Australia have held the ball for 6 tackles on 8 occasions. Great Britain nil. As this scrum packs down again. Stevens to feed. And it looks like it's going to be a green and gold ball. Rodonicus standing over it. Penalty to Great Britain. Loose arm. So 22 points to 14. And we've got 20 minutes of the football left at the Sydney Cricket Ground. As Holmes prepares to find touch for his side. And he does that. 5 metres on the Australian side of the halfway. Taking it up is Nichols. Met and put down by Peponis, and Young played back to Ward, and running with the ball is Watkinson, and coming away with it is Price for Australia. Price up to the halfway mark, and he's tackled there by Nichols in combination with Casey, and Price is injured, getting up very slowly, plays it back to Corowa, to Rodonicus, Thompson, Cronin. Cuts out Eadie, picked up by Rogers on the half volley. Bousted on the inside. Bousted goes himself up towards the halfway mark, the little man. And he's held there by Hughes and by Woods. And they try to put him over the touchline. Plays it back to Steve Rogers. Taking it up is Craig Young. Tackled by Gratian and by Dave Watkinson. Peponis to Rodonicus. Now to Boyd. Rodonicus was knocked over a mile late. It's been put down by Boyd, scooped up by Barrins for Great Britain. And Corowa and Barrins have a bit of an exchange. As it's played, it's gone through Holmes, and a penalty goes to Great Britain. Australia inside the 5.
So it's been a great comeback by them from a situation where they were hopelessly outmatched in that first 40 minutes, and now we find them trailing by 22 points to 14.
The kick by Woods, it looks good. Yes! Great kick by John Woods from a long way out. He's now kicked 5 out of 5 and continues to pot goals from all over the park.
Now, what a wonderful exhibition of goal kicking we've had out here today from 2 of the best goal kickers that you could wish to see. Mick Cronin, of course, his record speaks for itself. As we've already said, 15 goals out of 17 attempts in the test matches so far, and John Woods, an unorthodox type of kicker, around the corner kicker, one that we don't normally see in Australia. Certainly 5 out of 5, a wonderful performance from 2 very great goal kickers.
And so it's Fairburn giving it to Hughes, and he's met and tackled inside the 22 by Peponis and Rodonicus. This is Stevens. Ward now. Put down by Rod Morris and Les Boyd. Ball played back to Stevens, given away to Holmes. This is Casey, there's a Shepherd there. Penalty to Australia. Well within goal kicking range for Mick Cronin. Just inside the 22. Frank Stanton, I would imagine, a rather satisfied coach as he sits there on the bench, flanked by team manager Peter Moore. Mick Cronin taking the shot. Looks good. It is good. What a magnificent day of goal kicking we've seen. 24 points to 16 in favour of Australia.
It's a red hot day and I think we must be insane. Your mates keep knocking you down, you keep on getting up to try again. Now your throat's burning dry and you think about something cold, like rippling liquid gold. And you hear a shout, hey! And your hand goes out and you shake hands, shake hands, shake hands with a cold, cold baby. Shake hands, shake hands, shake hands with a cold, cold baby. Shake hands, shake hands, shake hands with a
When you're giving life all you've got, there's a big, thick chocolate that has what it takes. Only Cadbury has the real nourishing goodness of that famous glass and a half. Cadbury Dairy Milk, the real taste of chocolate.
You're putting us on. You're putting us on. You're putting us on.
The new cotton hip brief by Jockey.
Let me show you where the action is. Let me show you where the action is. The Sydney Sun is where the action is. Running magnificently, he's got them. It's a try and a half. He's got them to Smith. That is a crazy try.
Great try, Les.
If you're as wet in rugby league as we are, you just have to read the Sun.
That's right, Les, because all the rugby league action is in the Sun.
It's where the action is.
Yes, Britain, of course, they won a series back in 48-49, 3-0. And they did it prior to that in the 33-34 series. Very much looking as though Australia is going to do it in the 79 series. Boyd. Taken by Joyner and a bit of assistance from Barons. Colawa's pass knocked down. It's with Rhodonicus. And the referee rules the tackle count to restart. Rhodonicus playing it back to the skipper, on to Morris. And Rod Morris is tackled about 15 metres short of the halfway mark. Out to Thompson. Craig Young's turn to take it up. Tackle around the legs by Gary Stevens. Rhodonicus. Up the centre goes Rhodonicus. Over the halfway. Bit of a scuffle up there from Casey. Played back to Paponis, given to Thompson. Gives it to Reddy. Back to Price. Away to Morris. Morris has Colawa going inside. Colawa tackled 20 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. A bad pass picked up by Rhodonicus, given to Craig Young. Then to Les Boyd. Went without it. Picked up by Great Britain.
He's made a few handling mistakes out there today, Les Boyd.
And away to Holmes. Running with it is Nichols. Taken by Rogers. This is Ward. Holmes again. Put to ground. Dived on by Stevens. Play on, says referee Greg Hartley. Ball played back to Mick Adams. Holmes is injured for Great Britain. The penalty goes to the touring side for Australia being inside the 5. 24 points to 16 with 14 minutes of the test match remaining. George Fairburn taking the penalty, kicking for the far touchline. and finding it 10 metres on the Australian side. Holmes is injured for Great Britain, and he's going to be replaced by Steve Evans, who will come on in jumper number 14. Ward, Stevens, Nichols. Tackler was Rod Morris. The Joyce Main Discount Sharp Man of the Match award today is a beautiful Sharp microwave oven, and that'll be awarded in the dressing rooms after this telecast. Playing the ball is Woods. This is Adams. Floating ball out to Nichols. That's Hughes with the ball on the wing. Now Fairburn, and tackled on the Australian quarter line. He's lost it, and they're going to put a scrum down. That was a solid tackle from Rod Morris. So let's have a look at the reshuffle. Evans has gone to 5'8". Out to Adams. Crosses the quarter line before being met by the Australian lock forward, Ray Price. And away to Stevens now. This is Gratian getting through the first line. And Great Britain now looking to put another try on the board. They're inside the Australian quarter line. Out to Stevens. Fed on to Woods. Woods going back and around. Still going Woods. Linking up with his winger. Doesn't use him. And is tackled by Rod Morris. 12 metres out from the line. Hughes now. This is Evans. And Evans going through after this ball, but Bousted dives on the ball for Australia.
And the crowd have certainly seen 30 minutes so far anyhow of real test match football in this second session. It's been a great game, played at a top pace, plenty of spirit and plenty of stick amongst the forwards. And Great Britain, of course, they're leading in the points in this second half, 12 points to 7, so it's been a remarkable comeback by them.
Ray Price. Outside the 22. Taken by Casey in the tackle. Rodonicus, Thompson. Dummies to Young, goes around one. On to Bousted. Bousted stepping around, but held 10 metres out from his quarter line. Rogers, Rodonicus, out to Eadie. Scrum to form midway between the quarter line and the halfway on the Australian end of the field.
Very important couple of minutes for Great Britain now, with only 10 minutes remaining in the game. They trail by 8 points, 24 points to 16. They've got to come up with a try in the next couple of minutes to give themselves any chance at all of levelling the series.
Price out to Cronin, and Cronin gets the pass down, but it's into touch, and a scrum will go down about 7 metres on the Great Britain side of the halfway. Australia, of course, have had the Ashes since the 73-74 series in England, and they seem well and truly on their way to tying up this series here at the cricket ground today. Leading by 24 points to 16. 10 minutes of time remaining.
Australia leading in the scrums at this stage 7-5 with a penalty 6 apiece.
This is Evans, a player who, if he gets some room to work in, is very, very fast. Stevens. Casey. Held down low by Rodonicus, over the top by Price. Stevens. Watkinson. Almost to the halfway mark now. Played back, and across it comes to Nichols and fed away to Mick Adams. He got a short ball to John Joyner. Joyner's got Berens coming up, but he's a bit slow, Berens. He's got the ball now and tackled inside the 22. Joyner's got plenty of speed. But Stevens, Nichols. Nichols inside the 22 and beyond. 10 metres out. Plays it back to David Ward. Out to Woods. Adams. Adams gets his pass away to Gary Stevens. And Stevens is tackled on the 6th. Only a matter of a couple of metres away from the Australian line.
And this is where Great Britain are at their most dangerous. They're very clever ball players, and we did see a great break from Joyner that's put them into a very fine attacking position. Possession from this scrum, very important. Australia's ball.
Yes, and that was the first time Great Britain had held the ball for 6 tackles in this match. Australia now, 10 metres out from the line. Rodonicus taking it out, tackled by Fairburn. Playing it back to Ray Price. Alan Thompson now. Outside the 22, tackled by Mick Adams. Well, this satisfactory crowd at the cricket ground today. Still a big crowd here, some of them starting to wend their way towards the exits, but as Keith Barnes said, they've certainly seen 30 minutes, or 35 minutes anyway, in the second half of real test match football between these two rugby league nations. And I would think, Keith, sufficiently enough to see them come back again to watch the New South Wales and third test matches.
Yes, I'd say so, and this has instilled a little bit of bit more confidence, I should say, in the Great Britain party, because their morale must have been at rock bottom after that debacle up at Brisbane and the injuries that have hit them throughout the tour. But a few of the youngsters that have been given their opportunity out here today have certainly come up trumps for coach Eric Ashton. Well, Watkinson has instilled a bit of life into the side too.
This pass from Adams to ground, it could be scooped up by Cronin, but no, it's Joyner in number 3 for Great Britain, and he's had a pretty good game, Joyner.
Yes, he has. He came to Australia with a big reputation, but this is the first time that he's shown it in matches that we've telecast, but he is a classy player.
Now Steve Evans on in 14, replacing John Holmes. Playing it back to Mick Adams. Away to Stevens, on to Nichols. Out to Casey. Casey held by Alan Thompson. Taps it ahead. Inside the 22, Casey. Got a good pass away to Gratian. Well taken by Gratian. He was there in support. And Great Britain looking to score another try. A lofted pass from Nichols is taken by Joyner. And he's taken by Cronin. Play a few metres inside the 22. Players in the Sheridan stand corner, and a penalty to the visiting side from Great Britain.
And a goal is not much good to them now. They'll be taking the tap, looking for the try.
Adams does that.
This is the first time in the Test series so far that we've seen Great Britain take the initiative.
And it's across the line and out to Hughes on the left flank, but he's well rounded up by Rogers and Rodonicus. Hughes plays it. They work the blind side. Jeff Gratian turning it back through Evans, and it's now with Mick Adams. Woods to dummy half. Stevens. This is Nichols. Ward again. And Morris makes the tackle just on the quarter line. Australia's into the field. Australia 24, Great Britain 16. Casey delivering the ball to Gratian, who's played well, I feel. Playing it back to Casey. Both of these second rowers from Bradford Northern, Casey and Gratian, have got through a lot of work for their side. Mick Adams now puts the bomb in. Graham Eadie is underneath it. Oh, he's lost it. Still booted through, and it's going over the dead ball line. Eadie is injured for Australia.
Yes, he's a pretty sick boy out there, Graham Eadie. England desperately unlucky. Eadie went up for it well, was jostled off the ball, and then in a mix-up the ball was kicked, hit the upright, bounced back into the field of play, and then just as Great Britain looked as if they could get the three-pointer that they desperately wanted, it was kicked over the dead ball line. But Australia under a lot of pressure at the moment.
And we're down inside the last 5 minutes of this match as Rod Morris takes it out. A good run of about 12 metres.
And irrespective of what happens now in the final 5 minutes, you can guarantee that this Great Britain side going into the third test in a couple of weeks are going to carry on from where they left off today. This second half performance must have given them a great deal of confidence.
Well, you use the word win, Keith, and in the second half anyway, they in fact have taken the honours. 12 points to 7 so far.
Yes, that's right. I don't think they can pull the game out of the fire. Australia now back with the ball and back into a more favourable position, but full marks to Great Britain for this second half comeback.
And so with the timepiece ticking down, the final minutes for this series really to be won by Australia. Great Britain, of course, will look ahead to their next contest with probably the same side against New South Wales here next Saturday. And then, of course, the third test, which a lot of people are regarding as a fourth test in 1979. Bousted. Taken by Woods, and coming in over the top is Hughes. And he's hurt Bousted. Well, Hughes, I thought, came in quite late, and there appeared to be a knee in the tackle. It's through Rhodonicus, on to Thompson, out to Cronin. And Cronin now is met by the Great Britain defence quite solidly. Touch judge coming in from the showground touchline. This probably will be to do with the Kerry Bousted incident and involving the winger Eric Hughes. Yes, I honestly felt that Hughes went in too late, and there did appear to be a knee in the tackle. And the touch judge has obviously allowed play to go to a point where the scrum was about to form before making his report.
And the Great Britain defenders didn't lose any time in getting into Cronin either when he was held up. There were three of them came in very quickly to support the tackler.
So 24 points to 16 as we come down to the last seconds of this game. Australia winning the scrum, and Rhodonicus gave it to Price, and Price making a weaving run for Australia, taking play a couple of metres into the Great Britain side of play. It's played by Price back to Thompson and given away to Reddy, and Reddy gets a one-handed pass away again to Price, and Price 10 metres on the Lion side of halfway, plays it back to Reddy. Reddy taking it up and eventually put to ground by several players for the Great Britain side. Reddy about to play it back to Paponis, on to Rhodonicus, and Rhodonicus tries to duck under the tackle by David Ward. The roar from the crowd was the Tooths KB man of the match, and that is Rod Reddy. Reddy has been named as the Tooths KB man of the match, and a penalty to Australia right in front of the uprights, 30 metres out. And Mick Cronin will be called up to take yet another penalty kick for goal. Cronin has kicked 6 from 8, giving him a sum total of 16 goals from 19 attempts in the 2 tests played to date. And his points total for the series is up to 38. And he's 10 off the record for the most points scored in a series, an international series. The attendance figures slowly but surely clicking into the cricket ground scoreboard. We estimated around 25 to 28,000. It'll be interesting to see the final assessment as Cronin lines this kick up. Crowd figures 26,800 odd. As Cronin's kick in flight is getting away, but yes, it's missed. So the scoreline remains 24-16. There's the final siren, and Australia has taken out the second test and the series of 1979 to hold the Ashes, which they've held since the 73-74 visit to England. And here today, they've defeated Great Britain by 24 points to 16. And we'll be back in the dressing rooms in just a moment with the man of the match from Joyce Main Discounts and the Sharp People.
Set.
Medical science now emphasizes the importance of whole wheat. Whole wheat gives the body protein for building muscles, carbohydrate for energy, B-group vitamins and minerals for nutrition, and bran, so important for daily health. Weet-Bix is made only from whole wheat. Sanitarium wouldn't have it any other way.
Datsun Stanza won the rugged 78 Southern Cross Rally just 3 weeks after its Australian launch. Datsun Stanza, the sporty 1600 with all those famous Datsun features: style, economy, rally-bred reliability. Datsun Stanza, the driver's car.
Real value from $5,499 now.
Most cats enjoy fish. But when the fish goes into whiskets, cats worship them. Fish cooked the whiskets way, basted in delicious juices. The flavour and aroma sealed in, fresh from the oven. Whiskets in sardine, tuna, and our own fish recipe. Cats worship whiskets.
It's a red hot day and I think we must be insane. Your mates keep knocking you down, you keep on getting up to try again. Now your throat's burning dry and you think about something cold, like rippling liquid gold. I can hear a shout, hey! And your hand goes out and you shake hands, shake hands, shake hands with a cold, cold, creamy shake hands, shake hands, shake hands with a cold, cold, shake hands, shake hands, shake hands.
So Australia winning the second test and tying up the series by 24 points to 16 here at the Sydney Cricket Ground this afternoon. Michael Cronin scored 2 tries and kicked 6 goals. The other try scorers were Steve Rogers and Rod Reddy, scoring that magnificent try in the second half. For Great Britain, Joyner and Hughes scored the tries and Woods kicked 5 out of 5. Australia 24, Great Britain 16, and the scrums, Australia 9-7, the penalties 7-all. The man of the match, taking out the microwave oven from Joyce Main Discounts, and sharp is Mick Cronin. And why not? 18 points out of 24 in this test and a magnificent 10 out of 11 in Brisbane. Mick, congratulations.
Thanks very much, Ray.
Well, you're now 10 points in arrears of Lewis Jones and the most points scored in a test series. That was in 56, 57, England versus France, Mick.
Well, I don't actually know, but seeing you tell me, I'll believe you.
Mike, I must tell the viewers that when I told you that you'd won the award, you looked at me with a bit of an amazement, as though you weren't entitled to it.
Well, I thought we had a few good players. Oh, the whole side probably played well. I thought Rod Reddy had a good game, Alan Thompson. So I'm probably a bit surprised. I thought in the second half it was probably a bit quiet.
Well, I've decided that I think Mick Cronin was the man of the match, and I hope you enjoyed the prize. Mick, the Englishman came back in the second half, and they showed that they still have got some footballing skills out there.
Oh, they definitely have got some footballing skills. I think in the second half we came out a bit flat. We weren't spreading in defence, and we weren't moving up. 2 of the things that we said we must do, and they got a few points and got back into the game. I think we probably proved ourselves by we also come back later in the game. We end up in front.
Mick, congratulations again, and I hope you break that record of Lewis Jones's. Even though you don't know about it, I'm telling you about it. And congratulations on a magnificent display of football in the 2 tests.
Well, thanks very much, Ray.
Mick Cronin, our man of the match from Sharp and Joyce Main Discounts. And here, in fact, is Joyce to tell you about the masses of Sharp microwave ovens she's got on display at the Auburn discount store of Joyce Main Discounts.
But Joyce, what about all these microwave ovens?
I'll just have to clear them out regardless.
Why buy elsewhere when he could be paying too much? Joyce Main, 113 Parramatta Road, Auburn.
Thank you, Joycey. And that takes us away from the Sydney Cricket Ground. I hope you've enjoyed the second test telecast from the Sydney Cricket Ground, won by Australia 24-16. And, of course, we'll have the New South Wales-Great Britain game and the 3rd test match for you here on the O10 network. I'm Ray Warren. On behalf of Keith Barnes, good night for now.
This program was brought to you by the Sharp Corporation and Joyce Main and Company.
Hi, I'm John Coots.
And I'm Cole Joy.
Why don't you join us tonight for Saturday Night Live, 10 o'clock, great entertainment, the Ritz Company, Sophia Patricus, Norm Erskine is back, Ray Warren, Mal Johnson's on, and a special musical tribute to Glenn Miller. So why don't we see you here at 10 o'clock, it's all happening.
But me, I'll be along too.
Yeah, don't forget Cole Joy, 10 o'clock, Saturday Night Live tonight.
lend a hand, lend a hand. Salvos, lend a hand. Lots of people need a friend. Salvos, lend a hand. Lend them a hand. Salvos, lend them a hand.
Give generously to their Red Shield appeal, Sunday, July 8th.
The Salvos. Lend them a hand. Be a door knocker on Red Shield Sunday. About 2 hours of your time. That's all they need, and it's a very good cause. Phone Sydney 261711 during business hours and tell them you'll help. Go on, lend them a hand, please.
All right, you guys, on your feet and reach for the ceiling. This joint's rated, see? Yeah.
Sunday, roll those presses for the biggest night of laughs since What's Up Doc, when funny man Jack Lemmon and his knuckle-headed boss Walter Matthau stop at nothing for a headline story that'll make the front page.
Jesus, Hilda, you're a newspaper man.
Gentlemen of the press.
I'm going to be sick.
And when he